Hello, everyone. Hello, 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 hello. Now, listen. Last week, oh man, the numbers were tough. So I need y'all that's just jumping on right now to invite, and let's see if we can get people connected. Because today I want to piggyback on the sermon I did yesterday, and I really want to dig a little deeper into this whole idea about forgiveness. And so, really, what I want to talk about today is why forgive. Why forgive? And it's important that you understand that forgiveness is movement towards wholeness. Wow. Put that on the screen, right? Forgiveness is movement toward wholeness. That whenever you operate in forgiveness, you are operating, you are moving towards wholeness. So invite someone right now, encourage someone to join us right now. It's going to be amazing and it's going to be a blessing. All right, let's jump in. I want you to get this, and this is going to be very important. Get this. This is very important. Forgiveness involves an intentional decision to let go of resentment and anger. Forgiveness involves an intentional decision to let go of resentment and anger. That when you are a person who chooses to forgive, you are ultimately choosing to let go of forgiveness and resentment. This is vitally important because the person who understands this will spend their time engaged in doing the things that ultimately moves them, here's that phrase again, towards wholeness. So when I make an intentional decision to let go of resentment and anger, when I make an intentional decision, notice the key word, when I make an intentional decision to let go of resentment and anger, what I'm ultimately doing is moving towards wholeness. Man, that is just heavy on me right now because maybe wholeness is a journey and not simply a moment. Maybe the movement towards wholeness is this commitment to making intentional decisions that will push you towards wholeness. That maybe this journey towards wholeness is intentional decisions. It's an intentional decision to let go of resentment and anger. Mackenzie Phillips once wrote, "Forgiveness is not to give the other person peace. Forgiveness is for you. Take the opportunity." Wow, that is really good. That is really good. Forgiveness is for you to take the opportunity to become a person of peace. You become more peaceful, you become healthier when you learn the journey called forgiveness. Because remember, forgiveness is movement towards wholeness. The key to this is that you got to learn to let go of four things here, right? Make sure you get these. Let go of grudges, right? Let go of bitterness, right? Let go of a need for retaliation. And then let go the manipulative use of pain. Let go of the manipulative use of pain. Now, I want to say this again because I want everybody to understand. Here it is. You let go of grudges, meaning I'm not going to just hold this and then start using it against you, which means I'm going to let go the need for retaliation. And I'm going to let go the need to use my pain as a victim. And I'm going to let go bitterness. I'm not holding grudges. I'm not going to hoard bitterness. I'm not going to become retaliatory, which means I'm not going to go tit for tat with you. I'm not going to try to hurt you the way you hurt me or hurt you worse than you hurt me. And I'm not going to manipulate people with my pain, right? You know what that means? When I manipulate you with my pain, I use what was done to me to draw attention to me. So I can then use that to control you by appearing to be the person who has been victimized. Let me tell you why forgiveness is important. And this stuff is gonna be on the screen because it leads to some things. One, it leads to healthier relationships. You know, I'm a heavy relationship guy. That's the first thing I listed. It leads to healthier relationships. It leads to improved mental health. Your mind isn't always racing with negativity. Your mind is always racing with those thoughts that work against you. You know, my wife once said to me, I was regretting something. I was communicating to her how I was regretting something. She made this interesting statement. She said to me, she said, I don't have any regrets because of where I ended up. And I said, wow. Especially if you end up better. If you end up better, regrets are a waste of time because that was a part of your process of getting to where you needed to be. And this idea then of improved mental health means that I ultimately become a person who's calmer and quieter, which leads me to the next great reason why you need to forgive. Less anxiety, less stress, and less hostility. One of the most amazing things you could do is forgive people so you are liberated from this need to be hostile, from this constant stress. Remember, we dealt with stress a while back. Stress is what happens to your body, right? To your body and your mind, but more so to your body. And anxiety is the marriage of worry and stress, right? Stress happens in your body, worry happens in your mind, and anxiety is the marriage of both worry and stress. And so when you forgive, you have less anxiety, you have less stress. And you may have some anxiety and stress walking through forgiveness. You may even have feelings of hostility walking through forgiveness. But what you will not do is become hostile, become anxious, and become stressful when you go through the process. Here's the third thing: fewer symptoms of depression. I was talking to a young man yesterday who talked about how he had in a previous season dealt with depression. And it was interesting when he said it. I thought about how forgiveness kind of helps you control some of these negative, dysfunctional, and yes, demonic emotions and tendencies and states of mind, right? And so as I learn to forgive, I'm not drawn so easily into depression. I'm not drawn so easily into this painful state where I want to hurt, where I want to respond negatively, where I want to be vindicated. And I understand vindication. Here's the next one. And this is directly affects your physical state. Lower blood pressure. You're calmer. You have more of an equilibrium of mind, meaning that your thoughts are balanced and under control. And you're able to manage things in a quieter way. It doesn't mean that you're quiet, but quiet means internally. You manage things in a quiet way. People start seeing you differently, and now your blood pressure lowers and your immune system becomes healthier. And then it improves your heart, because now your heart isn't dealing with all of the trauma and the stress and the tension and your body. So notice the last three things have been about your physical health: lower blood pressure, stronger immune system, improved heart health. Notice the three before that dealt with mental health. The last one, improved self-esteem, deals with inner health. Did you get it? Relationships are outside of me. My mental health, my physical health, and then my perception of myself. All of these are the benefits of forgiveness. You're not as stressed because you don't have the tension of holding grudges. You don't have the tension of plotting retaliation. Things are calmer. Get that word. They're quieter. You want your life quiet. You want your life as quiet as possible, especially your private life. You want your life to be quiet, because if you don't manage this quietness, this calmness, this sense that you know what? I don't have to stress. I don't have to be running around, losing my mind and always in conflict and tension and always kinetically hectic, and everything is urgent and nothing seems to be planned properly. And I'm always dealing with frustration at some point in your life. If you don't get that stuff under control and you continue to live in unforgiveness, because see, here's what's going to happen. When you're living in this unbalanced, unhealthy place, you're more tension filled. When you're more tension filled, you're more vulnerable to offense. When you're more vulnerable to offense, then you become offended. When you become offended, now you enter into a place where your relationships are not healthy. So now you have to ask yourself some tough questions. Am I creating the conditions where forgiveness is needed? Or could I have dealt with this so that I even wouldn't have to be in a place where there would be a need for forgiveness? That's deep. That maybe the cycle of your life is that you keep entering space, you keep operating out of emotions that requires you to always be in a posture of having to forgive people. Because maybe you're just wounded. Maybe you're just hurting and you haven't figured out that I don't have to live like that. So, because I'm not keeping you long, here comes the question. How do I move towards forgiveness? Why forgive? How do I move towards forgiveness? Here we go. Forgiveness is a commitment to change. It takes practice to move forward towards forgiveness. You might or you will. Watch this. Forgiveness is an intentional decision that commits you to change. Do you see the building blocks? Commitment is an intentional decision that moves you to change. What are you changing? You're changing your mental state. You're changing your relational state. And you're shifting your sense of self to being a peacemaker, not a person engaged in hostility with others. It's a commitment to change. So let's deal a little deeper. How do you get there? One, you recognize the value of forgiveness and how it can improve your life. Listen, if you know something's going to make you better, do that. If you know someone is good for you, do them. If you know some behavior, some behavioral change is necessary for you to be better, then make the change. It's always wiser to make the decisions to make the change. You got to understand forgiveness and its value to you. You got to understand forgiveness and its value to you. Forgiveness is a valuable part of the life of a healthy person. And when you understand that, and when you choose to live like that, guess what ends up happening? You are no longer under the authority of the negative influences of unforgiveness, which means that your self-esteem, your mental health, your physical health, and your relational health are all improving because you're making conscious decisions. And get this, and you're not doing it grudgingly. You're not doing it in anger. You're doing it excited and grateful for the opportunity. Why? Because you recognize the value of forgiveness. Tyler Perry was talking to a group of people one time, and he made this statement. It's not an easy journey to get to a place where you forgive people, but it is such a powerful place because it frees you. Man, I hope y'all get this. It's not an easy journey. To get to the place where you forgive people is not an easy journey. But once you arrive, you'll discover something. You have been free. Yesterday in the Bible, it talks about, in Matthew, it talks about forgive them, forgive your debtors. Forgive your debtors. Well, forgiving a debtor means that I release you from the burden of the debt, that you are no longer imprisoned by the debt. But sometimes the debtor is the person who won't let go. It frees you. Here's the second thing. You have to identify what needs healing and who you want to forgive. You have to identify what needs healing and who you want to forgive. Wow. You have to identify who or what needs healing and who you need to forgive. You know what? I choose to forgive you because you need healing. I need healing. I need healing. And so I choose to forgive because forgiveness walks me towards the path of healing. Identify what needs to be healed and who you need to forgive. Wow. If and when necessary, seek counseling. Find that person you can talk to who will help you manage life. Counseling is not a negative thing. Sometimes counseling is beneficial. So find that counselor, whether professional or a friend or family, but find a counselor. Find someone you can talk stuff through and talk some stuff out with. Sometimes a professional counselor is the best person for you. Therapist, whoever, best person for you. Here's the fourth thing. Acknowledge your emotions about the harm done to you. Recognize how those emotions affect your behavior and work to release them. This is so big. Stop running from what was done. Acknowledge it. Face it. That was done to me. I didn't like it. It hurt me deeply. I have been wounded by it. It left me feeling da 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 da. Now, the moment you communicate it, you are not putting it out there so you can hold on to it. You're putting it out there so you can begin the process of releasing it. But you have to first recognize it, acknowledge it, and then confront it. Recognize, acknowledge, and confront. Recognize, acknowledge, and confront. Recognize, acknowledge, and confront. Recognize, acknowledge, confront. Rack. You got to rack it. You got to rack it. You got to recognize, then you got to acknowledge it. Then you have to confront it. That's how people get whole. They confront it. Then you move to the next reason why and how. You choose to forgive the person who offended you. Let's go back up top. Forgiveness is an intentional choice. It's an intentional decision. I choose to let go of bitterness and anger and hostility towards you. Towards myself. Choose to forgive the person who offended you. Here's the last one. Release control and the power that the offending person and situation have had in your life. Just release it. Begin to release it. How do you do that? Rack it. You recognize, you acknowledge, you confront, and then I'm going to add another R, and then you resolve. Then you resolve. And at the moment you resolve it, you can now move your life beyond it. You got to release control and the power that the offending person has over you. You got to understand that every time you give thought to it, that means they're still around. Every time that you have a conversation about it, that means it's still around. And so as you move towards resolution and wholeness, you may have some conversations, you may have some encounters, but at the end of the day, what you will never have is permanent pain. Because I'm moving intentionally towards wholeness. There's a quote I want to share, and it's by Lewis Smeldon. And it says, to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you. Wow. To forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you. You were always the prisoner. Because unforgiveness controls you. So here's challenge today in E3, the first E3 of December. Here's the challenge. Commit to the process. That, one of the things that I've been frustrated about and is that I haven't been able to seemingly get certain things moving forward, right? I was talking about some stuff in some areas that I'm working on. And it dawned on me that sometimes the reason why stuff isn't working isn't that you're not capable of moving it. Is that you're too caught up in it to keep pushing it forward. Gotta move forward. And the way you move forward is to stop being a prisoner to unforgiveness. Come out of that place and trust what God is doing. So here's a challenge. Commit to the process and keep moving forward, even while you're hurting. Because eventually, the cut that is clotting, that moves to being a scab, will eventually become a scar. And a scar, you can't feel anymore because it doesn't hurt anymore. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you. Join us on Thursday for Thursday Recharge, and let's keep growing together. We will not be defeated in this season. So let's keep living like defeat ain't even an option. Take care.